Okay, so 2 months ago, Drew Brees was a superstar athlete who had managed to pull the rare trick of being famous, successful, and universally beloved. The latter being by far the most difficult feat of the three. But then the New Orleans Saints quarterback stated publicly and correctly that protesting during the anthem is disrespectful and that it's better to stand together and, quote, show unity. And this unleashed a torrent of criticism, which Brees withstood courageously for all of 24 hours before folding like a beach chair and apologizing profusely for his defense of unity and patriotism. And these days, Brees can be seen running around the practice field with the name of an accused rapist and serial abuser who was shot after assaulting police officers taped to his helmet. His transformation from a beloved and admired sports star to a sad, capitulating, pathetic pawn is complete. Now, Drew Brees was once considered a face of the NFL. And by displaying this utter lack of moral fortitude and by rallying behind an accused domestic abuser and sex predator, he has proven that he still is a face of the NFL. The NFL, like the NBA, has many faces, and together they create a collage that forms the appearance of a gelatinous sea creature, something with very thin skin and no muscle and no spine. In recent months, and especially since the shooting of Jacob Blake, both sports leagues have been engaged in all manner of publicity stunts designed to make them look like they care about racial justice. And of course, fans of the WNBA would have seen similar theatrics if those fans, existed. But the Baltimore Ravens, just as an example, Baltimore Ravens issued a statement shortly after the Blake shooting, a day or two later, declaring, despite a total lack of evidence and context, that the police officers are murderous racists. Now, it's interesting that the Ravens were far quicker in responding to the shooting of a guy in Wisconsin than they were in responding to their own player beating his wife in a hotel elevator. That was Ray Rice. You may remember that. And, historically, the NFL has done an abysmal job of enacting justice within its own ranks, often allowing abusers to continue collecting game checks until public pressure forces them to take action. But, suspending your own star players or expelling them from the league entirely is a real and meaningful measure that might cost them money and bring bad publicity. It's much easier to paint end racism onto the field, which is what they'll be doing in every stadium this year, and allow your players to wear the names of alleged police brutality victims on their uniforms. Because these measures are performative, self-congratulatory, and achieve absolutely nothing of value. In other words, they're exactly what we've come to expect from the NFL. We've also come to expect them to steadfastly support abusive and violent men like Jacob Blake. It's what they've been doing, after all, for decades. Now, Seattle Seahawks coach Pete Carroll did his part in the fight for truth and justice by appearing on Late Night with Seth Meyers wearing a shirt that said equality. Well, that'll do it. Later, he delivered what we're told by the media was a raw and impassioned speech about racism. It's funny how these raw and impassioned speeches about racism always seem to be delivered exactly when raw and impassioned speeches about racism are what everyone expects and demands of you. But whether or not it was raw and impassioned, there was certainly nothing bold or brave or honest or important in Carroll's long lecture to his fellow white people. Bold, honest, brave, important. That would have been a call for the public to withhold judgment about police shootings until the facts are known. If he really wanted to be brave, he would have come out fully in support of the police and patriotism and peace. But Pete Carroll is not a brave man. There are few of those in the NFL these days. Now, the NFL may be a paper tiger when it comes to social justice, but they look downright ferocious compared to LeBron and friends over in the NBA. Perhaps all that needs to be said about the NBA is that the players boycotted their games in response to the Blake shooting, a stupid reason to boycott, but at least they're putting their own money on the line, only to end the boycott and continue playing the very next day. The NBA has perfected the art of faux activism, winning fawning praise from the media while doing precisely nothing. The same theme emerges. When the league and its members had a chance to take a meaningful stand for human rights, one that would have made a difference yet potentially cost them dearly, cost them billions of dollars even, they decided to ignore the human rights abuses in China in favor of continuing their lucrative business relationship with China's communist regime. Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr rather famously curled into the fetal position and feigned ignorance when confronted about China's atrocities last year. When he was asked about it, he said that he's still, quote, trying to learn about the issue. Doesn't want to jump the gun and talk about it before he's learned. Yet the team published a statement on the Blake shooting within days, condemning the police department and passing their own summary verdict. It's strange that there was no time taken to learn in that case. To learn, for example, what actually happened and other minor details. Now, for his part, LeBron James is commenting publicly now on every high-profile shooting, but only the high-profile ones. His concern for violence against black men seems to extend only as far as the news cycle, coincidentally. LeBron has repeatedly declared that he is scared as a black man in America and that black people are literally hunted every time they leave their comfort of their own homes. This, of course, is nonsense. LeBron James doesn't really believe that. He's a liar. And it's dangerous nonsense, the sort of nonsense that burns cities. But LeBron will continue spraying gasoline into the inferno from the comfort of his NBA bubble or his Los Angeles mansion. America has given LeBron wealth, fame, power, and admiration beyond imagination. Like so many of his peers, though, he has a very funny way of saying thank you. So, in summary, these men and organizations are hypocrites and moral cowards. They give us the spectacle of big, strong athletes performing feats of strength and skill, sprinkled now with a healthy dose of social justice banner waving. But on the inside, at the core of their characters, they are frail and pitiful. These are, most of all, men desperate for approval. If they're scared of anything, it isn't that racist white men are hunting them. It's that the checks might stop coming and the applause might cease. And this cushy life afforded to them by the country they despise might disappear. So they're never going to use their platform to defend true justice or speak real truth. Instead, they'll posture and earn their millions and cry into their piles of money about the oppression that they have made up in their heads. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.